What up, dog? Listen to me. I gotta get this out of my brain. And here we go. I want to talk about UFC 328. I think it was with Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev. Okay, so a lot of stuff has come out about these fights. A lot of controversy or whatever with the weigh-ins, as far as oh, they didn't wait till the scale leveled out, so Khamzat could weigh or whatever, so he missed weight. And then oh, he tried to kick Sean Strickland's balls or leg or whatever. Who cares? And they're trash talking really heavy, blah blah blah. Then there's also that dialogue going around as well, like, was the beef real? Was it this? Wasn't that? Oh, they're just trying to sell the fight and blah 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 blah. But I gotta talk about some stuff, okay? Okay, there's some things about that fight that just didn't add up. Now let me just talk about. Uh, so going into the fight, I was rooting for Sean Strickland because I'm not really a humongous fan of Khamzat Chimaev's style, as far as being so heavy in his wrestling. And people talk about it being boring. He'll be heavy in the wrestling, not landing significant strikes or doing anything significant with the positions he gains from manipulating his opponents like ragdolls. Like, so it just drags out into a very boring, unexciting, whatever type of fight. I'm not saying he hasn't had exciting fights, just like the fight he had with Gabriel Burns. Very exciting, very incredible. Kudos to all of them. He's a great fighter, just not my cup of tea. So going into the fight, I was like, well, I'm going for Strickland. At least he tries to keep it banging, standing, whatever. That's more what I'm a fan of. Um, and I actually really like that he uses the jab a lot, because the jab is my favorite punch, and very highly effective. Whatever, blah blah blah. When you can use it right. Um, but what else does he do? Yeah, I'm not crazy about his weird boxing style, but that's just him. That's how he does things, and it works for him. So whatever. Going into the fight, I was just rooting for him. And then I was intrigued by all the crap talk that was going on in the weight, the weight, the weigh-ins or whatever, and all the drama. And then I was like excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be crazy. And then Dana White and whatever, they put all the security in the octagon. And they're like, oh, anticipating for the worst, and trying to keep everything secure and building it up and blah blah blah. But like, it didn't make sense really, because you know there right before the fight, he Kamzat is looking at Strickland smiling, and they're both smiling at each other or whatever in their own way, and he goes, I love you. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. It's very weird and unnatural to go into a fight with that type of a mindset straight up. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm all about sportsmanship. I'm all about that, whatever. But when you're going into a fight and you really want to win, um, being that damn respectful, I mean, geez Louise, bro, I love you. Like, what the fuck? Um, and then immediately afterwards, and then with Kamzat putting the belt around Strickland. I mean, it's it's as though the beef was indeed fake. It was just there to build up the fight, which is fine. I'm not knocking that. That's, it sells tickets, puts eyeballs into the sport, whatever. I'm for that. Uh, but what I'm starting to see here is this pattern of, like, holy cow, like, there's way more than what meets the eye for us being the casual fan or whatever. Um, I think that they're closer, than we thought, and they definitely played it from the get go because they're smart, and that's good. That's how you need to be. But now, going into the darker aspects of it, um, it's like, okay, was the fight legit? Did Kamzat throw the fight? Was that part of the script? Is fighting fixed? Was Kamjat and Sean Strickland, since they're both so friendly, are they just aware and they play both sides of the same, opposite sides of the same coin, because there has to be two opponents, but going in, they might know, okay, we're gonna give them hell, we're gonna give each other hell, and this and that, blah blah blah, and then, but hey, come the second round, stop all takedowns. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Not one little bit of sense whatsoever. People are saying, oh, it's like, oh, he gassed out. And in the second round, Khamzat Chimaev gassed out in the second round? What? That makes zero sense. Zero. And to me, it's plausible that that might just be a preloaded, little bot excuse or something thrown out there that, other people could agree upon, you know what I mean? So they can control the narrative. Because to me, this Mexican dude, I forget his name, but he has a Mexican MMA channel. He came out saying that he with somebody else, and the other guy was like, I never bought the beef for 1 second. I was like, okay, I fell for it, but okay, he never bought the beef for 1 second. And then, but when the Mexican dude started connecting the dots, freaking it was like, oh my gosh, it just became crystal clear. Like, yeah, like, what if they're just because they're a part of the organization, and they're both company men, and they're both there to play ball, and whatever, and play their part, play their role, whatever, blah blah blah. And then Chimaev has that weird warlord dude behind him anyways, which is kind of crazy. And the UFC is all about weird, shady, fucking mob connected type characters or something. Because I mean, geez Louise, John Jones, not that he has mob connections or whatever, but he's like, you know how many damn crimes could you commit and do and whatever and still be UFC's golden boy? Who else? Uh, Fudge. It's not just John Jones. I had it lined up and blanking. Oh, Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? All the cocaine he's been sniffing, the allegations of him kicking some chick off his yacht. That chick getting picked up by the Coast Guard. She went to, come after him like via lawsuit or something legally, and press charges or something. And then her car or her home, I forget which one, got blown up or bombed or something. And then she dropped her suit. Like, come on, there's like weird things like that. And then getting such preferential treatment from the UFC with the steroids and the this, and then being out forever, and go doing boxing and doing this, doing whatever with no stipulations, because, woohoo. But everybody else that, ends up being under the organization, they end up getting controlled, and they don't get those little special privileges because maybe they're not fully, maybe there's levels to the game. They're not fully company men, but they're just enough, or in the beginning stages of rising to, like, play ball. But okay, so point being, UFC's track record with good people and this and that. Not only that, they can't stand when people talk about Jesus and the freaking cage. But every other god under the sun is a-okay, or every other say anything else, and and it's a-okay. But it's very plausible that the UFC could have, to build up and the numbers and get people excited, said, hey, we'll make it look like there's such crazy animosity. Let's get the security in the ring. Let's get let's get lots of, whatever, because we don't know what could happen. These people are dangerous, and it could be a riot or a war. You know what I mean? In reality, Kamzat could give a shit. He just wants his check and his attaboy from his, Russian warlord, whatever, owner. And Strickland, he could give a shit. He's going to look like a good guy. I guess he sold out, and maybe, who knows. I think of things like, well, if you're so successful in the public arena and this and that and whatever, like, they're probably like Freemasons or some shit. You know what I mean? Especially being such friends, so closely knit with law enforcement and whatever, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of law enforcement tend to be Freemasons. So it's not like out of this world crazy to, hey, what if maybe he's, his character that he puts out there and portrays, Sean Strickland as we know him, there's truth to it, there's honesty to it, just like, because that just makes the part easier to play. However, there's the character, like Chael Sonnen, you know what I mean? These people wake up to realizing playing characters, but I don't think it's just like all on their own, willy, happens. I think they're like chosen or selected, or like, hey, groomed or guided, like, bro, if you want to rise, this is what you're going to do. They get a plan, they get scripts, man. Because life is so much easier when it's pre-planned and scripted. Wouldn't you agree? But whatever. So to me, it's very possible that, yeah, the UFC put they built up the tension. They wanted to build up the fight, the money, right? It's a money play. Not only a money play, but a gambling money play. Because the UFC and gambling go hand in hand, right? Excuse me. And that night, it just so happened Sean Strickland was four times, if you would have bet it on him, but he was the underdog, right? So how convenient is it that on a night where so much money is at stake for people, and two people killed themselves because Chimaev lost, remember? Because they probably gambled the house and whatever. They didn't know the script. But because it doesn't make sense for Chimaev to not utilize his pedigree. He's a top tier freaking wrestler from Switzerland or whatever. He moved to Switzerland, and that's where he started wrestling and did phenomenal, crazy, and super strong in that craft, that technique. There's no way he would just stop doing that. Even if he would just take down and get back up and take him down, get back up and take him down and get back up, just to prove the point. Like I can outwork you, I can outdog you. Not to mention Strickland has a bad damn leg from his motorcycle accident and all this crap or whatever. It's like it seemed as though Chimaev was not he was trying to make it to go to a decision, and he's willing to get the damage on his face because he's getting paid big money. Who gives a shit? It's part of it. It's got to look real, right? It kind of like, think about it. A gambling money play. And they just go, oh, well, oh, it's crazy, and they just have the fans argue about, is it just that, he won even though he had more takedowns, or is it, yes, it's just because he had more significant strikes, and they just argue about back and forth. Like, who gives a shit? The point is, what happened? What happened that night, money-wise, follow the money. What happened that night is anybody that betted on frickin' Strickland made 4 dang times their money. That's big. You know what I mean? And in fight sports and gambling, somebody's always in on the know. In sports, all sports is fixed in one way or another. Come on. Especially when there's money involved. In this day and age, it's been like that since the dawn of time. In this day and age, it's normal. Like Jake Paul tried to tell you, boxing is completely scripted. It's totally fake. And he said it. There's a clip out there floating around him saying that. And so, well, what would make you think then? Why does he do it? Because his masters want him to make them money. Go, boy, so we can go bet on this shit and double, triple, quadruple, do whatever we got to do with our money. That's what I think's going on. And because there's 2 classes of people in this world. Somebody said this once upon a time, and I forget who, whatever, but it's true. The haves and the have-nots, the elites and the peasants. 99% of the world is us. We're the peasants, the surface dwellers, and then there's the elites or whatever. They're in airships or under the ground or under the sea or into the mountains. But doesn't it make sense, man? Think about that. Once I saw that Mexican dude connect those dots with that other guy's help, I'll try to update the video maybe with the name of the video or something, give him credit, but Mexican MMA or something, I don't know. It was freaking he wears a beanie like this, and he's Mexican, and he talks about MMA all the time. He's really good at it, check it out. But I was like, oh my gosh, I think this might be the missing piece to the puzzle that I've been looking for. And once I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so much easier to be more objective about it now, because who cares who won? Even though the person that I wanted to win, Sean Strickland, won. And that night, I was relieved and I was happy for a little bit, but afterwards, I couldn't believe it. I felt uneasy. I felt like this is weird. Why? Because normally my picks, the people who I want to win, the underdog or whatever, they lose every damn time. And every time I go to check out an event or whatever, and the person I want to win, they'll lose, and I'll go to bed that night freaking bummed out, pissed off, upset, whatever. And that's why like I completely stopped watching the Jake Paul fights before I knew they were completely fixed, because I'm like, this is stupid. Like, the person who I wants to win every time is not winning, and it doesn't really kind of make sense, but whatever, you know. And then I learned that it's fixed, and I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, I don't want to watch this shit at all. I'll just find out what happened, check out some clips, but I don't support that crap. You know, it's not fun. Completely ruins sports. You know, because yes, you want to see people slug it out, be passionate, and fight, put their all, but you want to really truly see them put their all. You don't want to see them, you know, give it up or turn it over. You know, turn them whatever, because word is that, yeah, Chimaev was just going to go to 205 no matter what, and that well, being a company man like W, you know, whatever, hey bro, you can't just vacate with the belt, freaking put over our guy so we can make money and market and blah whatever, blah blah blah, be in control of the situation. And that's what they did. And you know, he did what he had to do. He doesn't care. Give me my fucking money anyways. Like he said, I don't care about a belt, blah 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 blah. Give me the money. And freaking onto the 205, where I'll be more comfortable and I can make weight. Because yeah, I believe he was having trouble making weight for sure, but who gives a shit? Pound two, like, I get it, but yeah, because the look on his face definitely gave it away. Like, he was concerned. But then so it's fine though, you know. Go up and wait and fight in that, you know. He's a good fighter. He can, you know, try to go be competitive there. I don't know. I don't follow the UFC super duper close, but I saw this fight and it lured me in, sucked me in, and it took me for a ride, and then it spit me out, and then had me reflecting and started putting the pieces together in hindsight, and it's like, holy crap. There's freaking psyops everywhere you look. Literally, the world is a stage, and everybody is competing for your attention to fool you or to scam you. Anyways, that's it. That's all I wanted to say about that. I think that completes my thought on that whole issue and matter, because now it's like, okay, great. I can go back to not giving a shit about the UFC and all this crap and whatever. Every now and again, yeah, sure, watch it to appreciate whatever, this and that, but I'll never, especially if it goes to a decision, I'll never trust that. And I'll never, you know, give a shit really who wins or who they say wins. I'll just note whose performance I enjoyed the most. And you know, you can always appreciate both fighters though, you know. You can always put yourself into both fighters and see, like, dang man, he took a beating, he's tough as shit. Or like, dang, you know, he can take a punch, or man, he really did good in the first and second, but you know, whatever. But that's the thing about the sport, you know. Don't get so, oh my god, you know. Everybody wants to be divided constantly, but if anything, what they're supposed to do is bring people together. You know, no matter what, even if you're for the other team, even if you're for the other guy, whatever, because you know, at least, you know, at least we're not killing each other on the battlefield or something. Anyways, that's it. I'm rambling. Peace out. That's my thoughts.